SIEM. Control B.7. Last week we covered logging, capturing the events. This one is about making them mean something. Because you can log everything and still detect nothing. Here's the breach that proves it. Late 2016. Two attackers get into Uber's private code repositories, find cloud access keys sitting in the source code, use them to reach a storage bucket, and download the personal information of 57 million users plus 600,000 driver license numbers. Uber did not detect any of it. They found out when the attackers emailed them demanding money. And then Uber's chief security officer paid them $100,000, dressed it up as a bug bounty, and hid the breach for over a year. That concealment ended in $148 million of settlements and a criminal conviction. The way in was depressingly ordinary. The attackers reached private GitHub repositories, and inside the source code they found AWS access keys hard-coded and committed by developers. That is one of the most common vulnerabilities in modern software. Those keys opened a bucket containing a full backup of the writer and driver database. But the real failure was that nothing correlated. Look at the chain: authentication to the cloud environment from an external IP address that belonged to no Uber office. Then, immediately after, thousands of bulk download calls in a single session. And an enormous volume of data leaving at once. Every one of those events was logged, and every one of them looked unremarkable in isolation. Put together, they are a screamingly obvious alert. Nothing was putting them together. So what is a SIEM? Security Information and Event Management. It is the platform that ingests logs from across your whole environment, normalizes them into a common format, and correlates them to detect threats in near real time. Logging captures the events. SIEM is what turns those events into detection. Without it, four things happen. Your logs sit in silos, so nobody ever sees the attack chain as a whole. Detection falls back on manual review, which is slow, inconsistent, and does not scale. Your mean time to detect stretches from minutes into weeks or months, which is exactly how much extra time the attacker gets. And you cannot demonstrate proactive monitoring to an auditor or a regulator. At Uber the gaps were textbook. No correlation rule for production credentials being used from an unexpected source address, which is one of the highest value detections available to almost any organization. GitHub audit logs never forwarded into security tooling, so the initial repository access was completely invisible. No alerting when data access volume ran orders of magnitude above the normal baseline. And no defined response process behind whatever alerts may have fired. So what does good look like? Broad ingestion identity platforms, cloud management APIs, endpoint detection, network devices, web application firewalls, and SaaS audit logs. A documented use case library built around specific threat scenarios and mapped to a framework like MITREATTACK and CK, then tested and reviewed for relevance. Behavior analytics that baseline each user and entity, so credentials used from a foreign country at 3 a.m. trigger an alert without anyone pre-writing a rule for it. Triage SLAs, with critical alerts investigated the same business day. And mean time to detect, tracked and reported, so you can see whether the program is actually improving. How does an auditor test it? You request the list of log sources feeding the SIEM and compare it against the in-scope system inventory, missing sources like cloud APIs, identity platforms, or SaaS tools or findings. You review the use case library and check that key scenarios are covered: credential misuse, privilege escalation, bulk data access, lateral movement. You sample alerts from the period and trace each one through to a documented investigation outcome and whether it met the SLA. You look at false positive rates, because a SIEM that cries wolf constantly gets ignored by the humans. And you specifically confirm developer platforms and SaaS applications are integrated. 5 lessons. 1 is scan your source code repositories for secrets. Tools do this automatically and stop the credential ever being committed. That is the prevention control. SIEM is the detection control for when prevention fails. 2. Get your cloud management APIs into the SIEM, because they are the single most valuable telemetry available in a cloud environment. 3. Write the rule for credential use from unexpected locations, that one detection alone would have caught this attack. 4. Measure your mean time to detect, because you cannot manage what you do not measure. And 5. Review, do not archive. A SIEM generating alerts nobody reads is a very expensive log archive. SIEM is Control B.7 in the ITGC framework. I'm walking through every one with the breach that proves why it matters every week at marcoweb.org. Subscribe to get them in your inbox, and try the free ITGC audit tool.